Hey, I am Mustafa Sharif. Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. We talk a lot about child-friendly cities. We talk a lot about cities for women, cities for young girls, cities for adults, and so on. But we don't really talk about the people standing behind the stage, the people that taking care of the children, parents or caregiver to the kids. Today, I would like to focus on this topic, and I have the pleasure to welcome one more time David Knutsson, the one from the Co-working Spaces episode, to Urbanistica podcast. Hey, and welcome, David.
Thank you so much, Mustafa, for having me again in a fantastic, sort of new topic that I'm passionate about as well.
Thank you so much for giving your time, your inspiration, knowledge for us.
Absolutely, my
How
pleasure.
are how are you doing, David?
I'm very well. Like anyone else probably know, sitting at home working, using this fantastic media to communicate with other parents that I'm now doing a lot. And then again, I have my own son, 17 months on the other side of this door, so hopefully we will not hear him.
Well, and we also had a little quickie chat before this episode about the difference between a video call and a phone call, and you like it so much to have a video call. Share with us your
I mean, I
reflection
do.
about it.
I definitely believe that. You asked me if it's boring, and I just like, yes, of course, it is a bit boring that you can't really see people in the same way. But on the other hand, I do believe that I do more conversation through video versus actually ringing people. And I think that it's not just with me. I read an article about that yesterday that it seemed to be that many people do that, which I think is great because I can see you, you can see me instead of just having this via phone. Even this podcast is now a vlog sort of thing rather than just a podcast.
Yeah, exactly, two in one.
Exactly.
Well, David, the question pops up again. How would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about your passion?
My name is David, and I am a guy who really sort of living life. I'm a person that really follows what I believe in. I try to go on the route of being a nice person just to sort of do things that other things that I should do. In this case, I've taken the step, starting my own company for a few years back, and really sort of living the dream, but not the income. But other than that, it is a fantastic thing. I'm a family father. I have a son who's 17 months, and I am married to a fantastic supporting wife when it comes to taking this huge step of literally saying bye bye to a salary and jumping on the board of creating a startup.
And so you're passionate about trying things that you love with, fulfilling your dreams.
Sorry, now you are. Sorry, say that again.
Okay. Do you hear me? Do you
Yes,
hear
I
me?
hear you.
Okay. So you're passionate about making your dreams come true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes those dreams can just be like small steps. And sometimes this dream takes me to something else that I never thought I would do. And just funny thing about like now working with this new passion of mine, which is parently, making parenting's life easier, and suddenly finding myself sitting in meetings with a delivery guy that I have a meeting with him when he's driving, and we're driving out food to the schools of Stockholm just because he didn't have time for me. And this was before Corona times. But he sat next to me, and suddenly I have an experience that I've never had before, which is I've actually been driving out food to school children in 5 schools in Stockholm. I never thought I'll do that, but that's like, okay, tick the box. I've checked that out. It's not a passion, but it definitely, that passion took me to more knowledge.
Yeah, super interesting. Well, David, let's start with the great topic, a dad with a baby stroller in the city. So tell
Yeah.
us, how is it to have a baby stroller and walking in the city? Let's start with the general feelings and reflections.
I mean, overall, I think today, any city in itself are pretty good equipped for us, especially here in Sweden. Stockholm in itself are very well behaved, if you call it like that, towards parents in general. Obviously, like if you go to Gamla Stan in Stockholm, well, you have to rethink about a little bit what you're using for equipment to support your child. But overall, I think it's a good place, definitely.
Yes. So did you get a new visiting point or function in the city after you got the baby? Places that you visit?
I think that, I mean, we've been obviously more to parks. You get your coffee, you put that into the cup holder, you stroll around, and to get to stroll, it's quite nice not to just see concrete and asphalt and what have you. So finding more parks, finding cafes that supports parents, which is probably not the easiest things, and it's like because we like to hang out, like dads or moms, we like to hang out when we have this kid. But of course, if you're 3, 4, even 5 people with the stroller in itself is quite big, there's a lot of cafes that say like, "Welcome back another time," but not really now. But so obviously there is some information, some things online where you can find good cafes who support your child. But not everyone does that. But I've done that, and I've been sort of commuting with boat a lot more than just with the tube, for example.
And when you say cafes that support parents,
Yeah.
from in which aspect you mean the space or which kind of support?
First of all, there is a support when it comes to the physical, like the actual space. Do you fit? Not just you, but you have a kid that often is in a stroller, and depending on the age of that child, it could be a baby like a high chair. Okay, do you have an extra high chair? Can you fit the buggy? And you don't really want to leave your buggy far from you, because again, like there are so many buggies that are stolen in Stockholm. It's unbelievable every year. But at the same time, you have a lock. You can lock it up as long as you watch it. So that's one thing, to have the physical space. Secondly, is to have it. Is it possible to change the child? The nappies need to be changed. You don't really want to do that out in the cafe. You prefer to do that in the bathroom. Quite a lot of restaurants and the cafe actually do not have this very extremely simple product just to fold down or even over the toilet. A nappy bin. It would be fantastic to have more places like that. Even such a simple thing as a microwave. A lot of families will come in and it's like, excuse me, do you have a microwave? I just need to like heat this food for my child. Some people get a bit like, no, I don't really have other things to do. And some people don't want you to do that because they want you to purchase something in the shop. But it's like, okay, but if it's a tiny baby, you don't really have anything that suits for that reason. So there are good cafes that supports the feeding, the unfeeding part, and also the physical space.
And what is your reflection when someone in the cafe tells you, "Oh no, sorry, we don't have that"?
I would say that there are different ways of how you've been approached. There are a bit like get out, we don't want to have you here. And there are other people that are very accommodating and saying like, this is fantastic, but I mean, unfortunately we don't. Some people say, well, if you don't have a microwave, well, we can put it in hot water. All right, good. Then you don't have a microwave, but you've actually done what you can do. So that's fine. Or otherwise we'll have to solve it in another way. But I've been part of, both myself and my wife being part of, sort of gone to one cafe, no thank you, you're too many people, can't accommodate you, gone to the next one. So we have learned to sort of figure out before, like checking on the websites, going on Google Maps, do they accommodate? What type of facilities is there? Not that much on the road to get to the place, but actually what is the place that we're going to go for?
So this limits a lot of your movement in the city and the places you visit, right?
I would say so. I mean, obviously, like cafes is a big part, but also museums, for example. Like there are so many fantastic museums that are really, really good accommodating for children in Djurgården, for example. That is fantastic. I mean, you can do the walks, you can jump in there, and obviously there are free things and there are things that are not free, free access. So in a way, it limits you. It's basic. They definitely taken me into a new step in life, for sure.
Yes, exactly. And when it comes to the public spaces, do you find the same unaccessibility, or you feel very comfortable?
I feel very comfortable with that. I think that it's, as a parent, you need to sort of do a little bit of research about what products you need to have, and product is mainly the stroller itself. Are you close to the city center, or do you live in Gamla Stan? Are you close to the forest and you like to do walks? What kind of wheels are there? So all of these things that I basically didn't know myself, I've realized that, and a lot of people that I speak to as well are not, they're not born in Sweden. They actually got a kid abroad and then came here and like, whoa, we have something called snow. All right, we have to change the buggy and what have you. So I think it totally depends on what product you have, but if you just are kitted for that, it's not a problem to get onto a bus. I'll come back to that, but no problem to go into the tube, the trams, or we live just slightly outside of Södermalm. We can take a boat, which is fantastic. So it's not. There is something called a Stockholm measurement in the width of a stroller, which means it needs to have a specific width. If it's too wide, you can't get to the doors. And especially if you then have two kids, or if you have twins, you need to really think about that before getting the right products.
Yeah.
But definitely it could be. You talked about like limiting the movements before, and I must say though, I mean, even if there is normally it lifts pretty much everywhere, and it clearly states that you are not allowed to go on the escalator with the buggy. It's not okay, because it is definitely nothing to recommend. But sometimes when you stand there in line for a very, 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 very slow lift, that sometimes doesn't smell that fantastic, to be honest. You sometimes just skip the rule and you go up, or you just have to add that to your travel time. So it hasn't really limited, but it definitely have increased the movement time.
Yeah. And now when you're going out, are you thinking a lot that, okay, I should walk because I have a baby stroller instead of taking the metro or driving? How do you decide your transportation journey?
I would say, like, I'm probably even more aware of it now during COVID-19 times, which, I mean, normally we would easily take the commuter system without any problem. I don't really think about like before or that before baby or with baby. During Corona times, we are very much not moving that much, and if we are moving, we're actually using a car. And if we don't, then we take the boat.
Okay.
So
But do you feel free when you walk on the sidewalk and the streets, or you feel that it's too tight in general? I know they're different in each street.
I mean, I would say, like, I'm married to a British woman, and compared to the UK, Sweden is fantastic when it comes to like sidewalks and widths. And again, like, Swedes are really, we like to sort of keep separated even before COVID-19. So we have our path. That's not really a big problem. I don't think so. And during summer, there's a lot of streets that sort of shut down for cars and open up some what do you call them, summer pathways, basically, which is fantastic. So no, I don't think it's sort of, I don't think it's no, I don't think it's limiting at all, actually.
That's great to hear. Do you also bike with your baby or no?
Oh yeah, I do. We bike with our baby. We don't have a bike. We don't put him in the back of the bike, but we put him in. So far, we have a specific stroller, a running stroller, and uh, bike stroller that we connect in the back, which he loves, absolutely loves, to go in. And he's like, yay, because it's a speed thing and he loves it.
Yes, of course.
And I mean, he loves it. And I feel pretty, obviously, depending on where you are. But if you're biking around with that, that's not a problem. And I feel safe to do
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And I see that you got so much knowledge, experience about all the different things related to baby stroller, baggies, and so on.
Well,
Yeah,
not
you became super expert.
yeah, well, it's one thing of being a parent, and obviously, like to start up, initiate a brand or focusing on the parenting journey. Obviously, it's going to be like I'm a totally geek when it comes to like tires and wheels and what kind of buggy do you need for what, and there is it's such a massive world that people like move into, and there's a lot of yeah, there's just a lot of a lot of things, but I think you're addressing one thing that you normally do not talk about is what happens with you and your family. What kind of movement do you do? And if it's one thing that's sort of it's not limiting, but it's a bit annoying, is that when you're getting a kid, if you're pregnant, like my wife has experienced is if you're pregnant, a lot of people are very accommodating, like they get up and they let you sit and what have you, which is fantastic. But when you get the stroller, obviously, depending on when you're going in the city with the stroller, this sort of like you are in the way feeling has occurred quite a bit. So I'll come back to that later, but about very much to show the respect to people to because sometimes you don't want to be there, but you are there anyway. Sometimes you don't want to just have your baby in a baby carrier. You just want it to be able to fall asleep. Just because you have a child doesn't mean that you sort of no stay out of city center or whatever. So I think that if people just could be a little bit more respectful about that a pram or the stroller takes a little bit of space, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I wanted to talk with you about as well, that the relationship between you and the people around you. So, whose responsibility to show respect, to move, to give more space. So it's super interesting, and I would love that we highlight this more
Yeah, I
when
mean,
we are there.
I would say that is when I say show respect, is not just the people around the bug. It's absolutely the parent itself. Just because you have a stroller, you're not like, yes, I'm here, boom. If the bus driver tells you there is already two strollers, and then there is a elderly person who has a walking frame, well, don't get on the bus. You have chosen to go on the bus. If it's full, don't even try to get on. Don't become angry or stressed or whatever. You have to find another way. And going back to what you just mentioned before, do I bike? Yes, I do. And I actually bike more just to sort of not have this problem by if a bus comes and you only have 3 spaces in the bus for the products, then you just try to skip that and bike. And then I think Stockholm has a lot of good bike paths. But that could obviously be better.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I think that's good.
So, David, tell me about the startup, the crazy idea.
The crazy idea.
When did you get it exactly, the idea that you decide, okay, no, I will start this?
I sat actually in an innovation dinner in the fantastic island of Gotland during something called Almedalsveckan in 2018. And we sat and discussed this with one of these accelerator programs called Sting that are in Stockholm. And we talked about circular economy. And I thought that there and then, because me and my wife were trying to get pregnant, so I thought, like, of course there needs to be a service to actually get access to the products that I will need for my lifestyle that supports the upbringing of my child as a service. Can I subscribe to that? So quickly Google that and realize like, no, there is great services, great companies out there. They do this for clothing in like Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and there are several of these people that do that, but not when it comes to the sort of the more expensive items like the stroller or the baby carrier or the car seat that you need to change after a year. And why do I need a car seat if I live in Stockholm and I just subscribe to a car sharing program, for example? So there and then it's like, if it doesn't exist, hey, why not do it yourself? So I started sort of investigating more and more about the market, because I didn't know anything about the baby market, which is a massive market.
I can imagine.
I mean, there are 30,000 children just in Stockholm being born every year.
Wow.
And in average, you spend 20,000 SEK on gear on the first year as a parent, in average, which is I mean, you can do the math quite quickly. And there is, obviously, you can buy it brand new. You can go on and get it online and block it, or make Facebook Marketplace, or you get it from friends, family, or whatever. Parently will be a fourth option, which means that you can subscribe to products that you need when you need it. You only pay for when you're needing it. It will be delivered to your house. It will be removed when you're not using it. We clean it, we maintain it, we recondition it, and we put it back into circular use. Because a lot of these products are great. They're fantastic, but sometimes they sort of, you don't really use the product as much as you could do, even if there's a clear secondhand market. So we wanted to try to sort of to hold on to that and design this service. So that's what we're about to do now.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
David, but why babies' products so expensive?
That is a fantastic, good question. There are like any products, like compared to cars or whatever, anything, there are obviously products that are cheaper, with sometimes good quality, somewhat less quality. And there are these high-level brands that are putting more emphasis on the circular product development and stuff like that, and also in image. And Stockholm is a lot about image. Like wearing a suit is the same thing. Like, what is a suit? What does it tell you? What is this type of brand on the stroller tells your surroundings? I have two people that I have spoken to that has unfortunately taken a loan to get access to the right buggy for the area that I live in and for the people that I hang out with, which is a sad story, but it's also part of reality. So it's not just about getting access, but it's also making it more accessible for people that can't, like, I mean, something you can spend 20,000 on a brand new buggy, just a buggy, and not everyone can do that. And this gives you the possibility to get access to products that you want, and also to take a huge step towards being more circular.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are different price tags on them, of course.
And how are you thinking? Are you going to buy products and then circulate them, or what's the idea? And where are you going to store the products that are not being used?
Yeah, I mean, if I would buy them, that would be way too easy. Because because then it would be just me being another reseller for any of these really like big brands whose turnover is massive. So I've been working with, as in my previous episode, I've been working quite a lot with office development and with the co-working spaces, and also a lot about innovation. And working as a consultant within innovation has really highlighted the need of the big companies needs to look to the sustainable development goals of 2030. These goals that a lot of nations have signed to be part of, and they have to do something to be part of the future, for the future generation that wants to consume or use. These companies need to take a larger responsibility. And we offer them the opportunity of taking this step already tomorrow, by not buying them from the producer, but actually offering them to own the products for the entire time that they're using it. So we get access to the product. We are using we are providing that to a user. We take the product back. We recondition it in our own warehouse, where we also store the products, and we reconditioning all of these products and safety check them, which is a huge part, obviously, because it's your child. It's so super important. And then we have a communication all the time with the producer. This means not only can these products last longer, but lasting longer also means that the producer actually will earn more money over time, because we can't forget that it's called circular economy. It's an economy. It actually makes it worthwhile for the producer to do this. But this is not the easiest thing to do. But I'm so happy in the conversation that I have with some of the producers that are big brands in Europe who really understands this, that they have to take this step to complete the innovation SDG goals.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And what are the challenges that you're facing now, especially you're in the early phases, right?
In that discussion, you mean, or with
In general with a startup?
I would say, like, I mean, there's so many. There is so many. Like the vision is massive, but you sort of have to reduce yourself to thinking of what's the MVP, what is the minimal you need to try it. So we're trying this out with 25 test families at the moment, which is great, and they can help us to develop sort of everything from what should we offer, in what way should we offer, what kind of insurance do you need, how is it to be a user rather than a consumer, because you don't consume the buggy, it's not yours. But if it's not yours, how will you as a user actually use it? Will you, I mean, there's so many questions. But then at the test pilot, we tested that towards the user, we tested towards the producer, because in the end of the day, the better products that the producer can make, that has better thinking about the circularity, that users good methods and not like any child work or whatever you need, but that you put a lot of money into a buggy that potentially in the warehouse would cost 50 or 60,000, but through a subscription model you can lower that, you can get access, and they can live longer.
Yeah.
But as any startup, the financial part is one thing, obviously. But I want to try. The best funding you can get is the money from the users, obviously, and that's where we are now. So we're going to start this up now by having paying clients to test this and to have a close collaboration both with the user and the producer.
And I believe you're going to integrate this with an application.
Yes.
or a homepage.
Yeah, everything will be done digitally. So you as user can have any phone or laptop, and you can then do, what are you subscribing to? How much is that per month? What can you update? What can you change? I mean, all of those things. And obviously that in itself is a big job. And if you just go on any sort of e-commerce site today, they're perfect for delivery, purchase, send, done. Here, we're trying to create a platform that is subscription. Your monthly fee can go up or down. You have one shipment, and then you have a running subscription costs. And then I come and collect it. There is so many steps there, and there are so many new things that hasn't been done before, as we haven't really found a good solution. So we're building it ourselves.
How big is the team that dealing with all these different steps?
Well, it's me that are 100% on this, and then I've had the honor to have Hyper Island people, just both existing students, to create everything about the content strategy for Apparently. It's been fantastic. And then I have former Hyper Island students that are now consultant for me. And then I have other people that I am using. And But the funny thing is, when you're starting a new thing like this and people seem to like it, a lot of people wants to be on board, which is fantastic. It's great to have that. But then it's like, okay, what kind of resource do you need and for what? So we're literally 3 people working on this at the moment, including my dear wife, who's a copywriter and working with the marketing. Um, I mean, it's such a fun process. It really is to start something from scratch.
I can see it on your face when you're talking now. I can see the love and the energy.
It is a love and energy because I'm one of them. I mean, I'm a parent. He's 17 months. He's sick today. Okay, he can't go to preschool. He stays at home. What happens? Have to go out. Beautiful weather. Ba-da-ba-da-dum. So I'm living, and I would love to have this opportunity myself. So that's obviously a driver.
Yes, that's amazing. And David, I would love also to talk with you about some more about feelings and the situation, because what we know, me, I don't have any kids yet.
Yet,
But what
yeah.
I hear from some people that, oh, your life gonna change. Just forget about freedom. You will give all your life to your baby. I know it's different to different people, but
Mm.
now we're talking about the topic. So would you mind to share with us, what do you think about it? Did your life really change and now it's a kind of, oh my God, I don't have any hobbies anymore. I'm dying, I'm suffering.
To start up a brand new business at the same time as you have a kid, uh, those two in itself is to bring up something parallel. They're both needs food, love, care. So maybe that's really like maybe not that I recommend super duper much, but I still do it and I love it. Well, of course your life changed, but it's also, as you just said, like if everyone is different. We have a lot of friends and acquaintances that we have made the decision to let the child sort of steer the life, and that's the only thing that they do, and that's their choice. It's fantastic, but you really see the difference in relationship when you have friends and family, and suddenly you get a kid that you sort of become in a cocoon, um, and then you realize that the same setup as you have, you would think that your friends would do the same, but sometimes they don't do that. And so we really see difference in people that we hang out with. Obviously, that it's more and more, you hang out more and more with the people that have children in the same situation, which have no problem about talking about poo and food and school and what have you. But it is we haven't made the decision sort of that Albin will steer our life, but it definitely affects when it comes to like when is he going to sleep, when is he going to eat. The kid needs to routine. So I would say the routine has helped us have a routine. Lunch, okay, sleep, fantastic. 2 hours, work, boom, great. Next, eat, sleep, food, sort of like so. Of course, it steers you, but if you don't let it be overwhelming, it won't. But this is great things. Now we're talking about being parents, but I mean this is great things to talk about with your partner before actually getting the kid. Don't I mean it definitely helps to talk about this before.
How much communication do you need in your life in order to establish this freedom, safety, like with your partner, with the baby, with the people around you? We were in this already when you were talking to the people in the cafe and so on. How much do you need to communicate your feelings, the situation?
You don't really realize how much you do it until you speak to someone that is not even part of it or interested in that. It's so funny when you realize yourself, you're sitting and talking about it as this is the only thing in life. But then there's someone who's maybe a bit younger and like, I don't really care what you're talking about. And then you're like, okay, I'm sorry. We have to change subject to something completely different. Yes, you've been part of that many, many times. But in communication, of course, it's communication. Alban is almost on the age right now. You have to sort of watch your mouth, what you say. He will repeat it.
Oh.
I mean, because my wife is British, it's a split. So he says kaka in Swedish, and he says boss. It's sort of like he doesn't say papa, he says daddy. So everything is about communication. It really is at all times.
Interesting. Super interesting. Well, David, if I ask you now two quick question, if you close your eyes and I ask you, what do you hate most in the city when you're out with a baby stroller?
When it's no lift.
Okay.
Which happens. And if they have lift, it takes ages.
Okay. And what do you love in the city when you're out with a baby stroller?
Again, we have a lot of space. There is a lot of parks, which is, I know that Stockholm Stad is really like emphasizing this, and I think it's great that they are doing that. So there's so many parks, there's so many playgrounds. You can just pick, which I think is absolutely great.
Oh, that's great to hear. And now me as an urban planner working with architecture as well, I have this question. So if you have a time machine and you go back in time and you're allowed to change one thing related to architecture and urban planning, what will you change?
The question can also be going forward, but again, I would try to remove as much of the cars as possible, and by doing so, hide them underneath the ground. It's almost like put the trains on top and the cars below. Don't let the cars steer the city. And I know this is a future vision of a lot of people, especially with car sharing programs and AI and what have you. But if that would be something that people thought before, that would obviously be great today.
Yeah. And what is the thing that you're gonna add to the city if you're allowed to?
It's funny, like when you think about it, like, yes, I would say, like, again, the car thing is an important part, but I wouldn't mind if there are kids parks, but it would be great if it has a sort of a little bit more to adults.
Okay.
So I'm not, it feels weird to call it an adult park, but but it's definitely like a parent park. Like what is it that can be combined? There are great things about in retail which I have thought about, like kids section is close to something else, and we both can have happiness for both. There is so much what you can add to playgrounds, which is keep them there for longer, make the kids love them, but at the same time add more for the actual parent.
Yeah, and I'm thinking now about the Leo Lekland, the indoor playground that's both for adults and babies.
Yes.
But you're thinking more than this should be free and out and accessible in the city, outdoor, right?
Yeah, I mean, for example, like Stockholm has a lot of outdoor gym, but when I think about it, I can't really see that many outdoor gyms that are close to kids parks. And sometimes you can combine the two. I don't really know how, but I sort of would like to see that.
It's our problem to fix it, urban
Exactly.
planners.
I mean, definitely in some way. I mean, there is fast food burger joints out there who has playgrounds outside of their restaurants with soft sort of rubber floor, and then they have tree houses, but they have sort of combined the eating part with that, and many other people do that as well. But if you could do that to actually outdoor playgrounds
Yeah.
in some way, and this is something we have actually spoken to with some friends, that this would be fantastic if this was successful.
Yeah. That's a great point. Thank you so much, David.
You're welcome.
Well, it was really great to talk to you as well. Too much inspiration in this episode.
Yeah, well, it is a, you become a bit of a geek. You become a bit of a geek about being a parent, being a child, like what diaper should you test, and I mean it's a massive world. It's like getting married. It's the same thing there. You get it's a bubble, but it definitely affects, and I'm glad you highlight this here, because it will affect the urban planning of the future, and getting more green into a city, getting more accessible for buggies, stroller, or what have you. But one thing that is maybe tricky for you guys to solve is also the communication between the non-parents and the parents, which
Yeah.
always can increase and be better.
Yeah, of course, of course. And I'm so happy that you share with us honestly everything you have in heart and mind, and your experience. It's very valuable. Thank you so much, David.
My pleasure.
And I'm afraid now to ask you what is the next step for you, because every time I ask you, something different pops up. No one knows what is I don't know if you're gonna start one more startup. So, but okay, I need to take it. So, what is the next step for you, David?
Oh, if it's one step, well, it's funny that yes, I am starting another startup,
Okay, here we go
parallel,
again.
but I do that to support Parently when it comes to the reconditioning. I believe that reconditioning will be part of increasing the interest for circular economy. There's so many things out there that can be, if you just take care of it and update it, you can send it back out. We don't really find this service, so we're a couple of guys that are doing this. So I will be I will be a customer to my own startup that will recondition. So it's a parallel track. So that's my next step. The other step is to make sure I can deliver products out to my test families, because I know a lot of them are becoming physically bigger and are soon there to be parents.
Nice. Maybe there are many families listening to the podcast, and are they able to be part of the test families, or you already selected the families now?
We have selected a lot of them already now, but if they're quick, we have a few spots still open to be part of this. Absolutely. So just let me know and send me an email at hey@parently.se and let me know, because you're
Yeah.
more than welcome.
Small question. Is it only in Stockholm, or even you deliver to Västerås, let's say Skåne?
Skåne, very good question. We are starting in Stockholm's län and providing that, but obviously the next step will be to expand the business, for and foremost in the Nordic countries. But I mean, hey, it's a big need out there. But right now, Stockholm's län.
Yes, yes. I wish you all the good luck with all your steps.
Thank you, Mustafa.
Well, David, how would you like to summarize the conversation and reflections and three takeaway messages?
I think I come back to the thing I mentioned before about no matter where you are, no matter where you are in your life, in the situation you're in, always show respect to one another. Obviously now during Corona times is even more important, but always trying to do that, because you never know what situation the other person is in. So that's a key thing. I am on the path to make sure that there is a road for being a sustainable user rather than a consumer. And you can already do that today in so many different branches, industries. And I think it's good that everyone sort of think about how you consume, but you can actually use. And thirdly, obviously, you need to go and check out parently.se, because you need to be part of this journey. And I would like to have as many people as possible part of the journey.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, David. And now three hashtags.
3 hashtags: Parently life, circular economy, and access economy.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, David, for giving your time to Urbanistica podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. Please follow Instagram and subscribe the YouTube channel for live talk. If you have a good story that makes our city smarter, please contact me. Urbanistica is being produced in collaboration with Landskapslaget, a company working with landscape architecture and urban design based in Stockholm. I am Mustafa Sharif. Keep up the good work. Keep loving cities.